I still remember the day I returned to Wittenoom, the mining town where I grew up. The once thriving community was now a shadow of its former self, abandoned and left to rot. As I walked through the empty streets, the only sound being the crunch of gravel beneath my feet, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The wind carried the whispers of the past, whispers that seemed to come from all directions, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I spent my childhood playing in these streets, exploring the mines, and listening to my grandfather's stories about the town's history. But it was the asbestos scandal that ultimately led to the town's downfall. The government's negligence and the mining company's greed had left the town with a deadly legacy, and I couldn't help but wonder if the spirits of the dead were still lingering, seeking justice. I decided to investigate the mine to see if I could uncover any clues about the strange occurrences that had been reported in the town. As I approached the entrance, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air inside was thick with the smell of decay and rot, and I could hear the sound of scurrying rodents coming from the depths of the mine. I made my way deeper into the mine, my heart racing with every step. The darkness seemed to press in around me, and I could feel the weight of the earth above me. Suddenly, I heard a faint whisper in my ear, a soft voice that seemed to be calling my name. I spun around, but there was no one there. I stumbled upon an old room deep in the mine, filled with abandoned equipment and tools. It was as if the miners had just gotten up and left, leaving everything behind. But it was the photographs on the wall that caught my attention, pictures of the miners and their families, all of whom had been affected by the asbestos scandal. I recognized some of the faces in the photographs, people I had grown up with, but it was the look in their eyes that haunted me, a look of sadness and loss. I realized that the spirits I had been sensing were not just random entities, but the restless souls of those who had been wronged by the mining company and the government. As I walked back through the town, I noticed something strange. The buildings seemed to be shifting and twisting as if they were alive, and the streets, which had once been empty and deserted, were now filled with people, all of whom seemed to be watching me. I saw the faces of the people I had grown up with, the people who had been affected by the asbestos scandal. They were not just random spirits, but the embodiment of the town's collective anger and resentment. And they were not just seeking justice, but also seeking to make me understand the true extent of the tragedy that had occurred in Wittenoom. I realized that the mine was not just a physical place, but a symbol of the town's history and its people's struggles. And I understood that the spirits were not just seeking justice, but also seeking to make sure that the town's story was not forgotten. As I read through the old newspaper clippings, I saw the story of Wittenoom unfold before my eyes. It was a story of greed, negligence, and tragedy, but also a story of resilience and survival. And I realized that the spirits were not just seeking justice, but also seeking to make sure that the town's story was told and remembered. I left Wittenoom with a sense of peace, knowing that the town's story had been told and that the spirits had found some measure of justice. But as I looked back, I saw the town's buildings twist and shift, as if they were still alive, still watching me. And I knew that the spirits of Wittenoom would always be there, waiting and watching, making sure that their story was not forgotten. I am still haunted by the memories of Wittenoom, but I know that I had to tell the town's story. It is a story of tragedy and loss, but also a story of resilience and survival. And I hope that by telling it, I can help to keep the spirits of Wittenoom at peace. The town of Wittenoom may be gone, but its story will live on. And I hope that by telling it, I can help to make sure that the spirits of Wittenoom are finally at peace.